Happy Friday, guys.
Happy
Happy
Friday.
Friday. We made it.
We
Yes.
made it. We made it. And welcome to the Modern People Leader, Jennifer.
Thanks for
We're so
having
thrilled to
me.
have you. Yeah, yeah.
Great to
And
be here.
so we got a lot of things that we want to talk about with you. Before we can jump into those, we have a couple of rituals that we have at the Modern People Leader. First is good news stories, and each of us will share a personal or work related story just to kick things off, show a little gratitude and positivity from the last week or two. Anyone want to kick us off?
I can go.
All right.
Yeah. All
Hit it.
right. So I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable, but I just want to say I really appreciate you, Stephen. And I love doing this podcast with you. And this is the background, the context around this is when you have a business partner, sometimes it can be hard to share feedback. And I just want to acknowledge that whenever I have given you feedback, you've always actioned it. And sorry if I'm getting like a little in my feels, but I just wanted to let you know that I really appreciate you.
I
I,
love that.
I appreciate you too. And yeah, not only business partners, but cousins as well. Like it can be tough, but I appreciate you too. So thanks for kicking off with that. I'll go ahead and go next. I have to be a little bit cryptic for reasons as that will probably make sense when I share a little more about my good news. But this week, we reached a really important milestone in the existence of a startup and part of the dream that every entrepreneur has. You want to create something amazing, and if you have the chance to exit and evolve that's the dream. That's why we do what we do. And so this week we reached a really important milestone in that process. We're not quite there yet, but that's my good news. And probably oversharing with our audience given how these things go, but in the spirit of being a little vulnerable, that's what I have for today.
Well, that's exciting. That's super exciting. And I love that you give each other feedback and have such a great working relationship. My good news story is a little personal and a little work related. So my niece just graduated from college last year and moved up to live with us over the course of this last month and look for a job in DC where I'm based. And it's just been really great watching her go through this process of exploring what's next for her and being able, in the role that I have and the experience I have, to kind of coach her, do mock interviews, that kind of thing. So it's just been super gratifying. And I just, helping someone I love so much is also amazing. So it's been really, really cool.
That sounds amazing. What an awesome aunt to have at this time of year alive, an expert in these matters of sorts. And so the next thing we want to dig into is your story, Jennifer.
Mhm.
And I've had a chance to stalk your LinkedIn page, and you've done some really impressive things, but we love to hear the journey that our guests have had. And so share with us, what your career has been like, the highlights, and how all of that led to you becoming the chief people officer at DocuSign.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a circuitous route, I would say, into HR. I didn't start out that way. I started out in really government service, and with a focus on helping people improve their lives and doing something in service back to people, which is not that far off from being in HR. But government service, I worked in the White House a few times. I did consulting. I got into executive search, and that really was my door into HR. I stood up the executive search function at American Express and was a chief diversity officer and a few different senior HR business partner roles before I moved from New York to San Francisco to lead the people team at Twitter, which was my first time leading the whole function and being on the executive team. I did that until Jack hired me, and I did that until Jack decided to leave, and I thought that was a good transition time for me. So in January, I joined a fintech startup called Bolt, which is really exciting. And I found it was an awesome team, an awesome company. I had a really great HR director who was really running the show end to end. And I wasn't feeling like I was having the impact that I like to have in terms of the role that I have. And so a search consultant that I'd worked with before called me and was sourcing me for the DocuSign role. And I was like, that sounds interesting. Tell me more about it. And I really found it was probably a really good fit for me. A company that was in transformation, bringing on a new leadership team and really looking to scale their organization. And the added bonus was being involved on the business side of DocuSign. They sell into HR functions. It's a real
Yeah.
it's a real core capability of HR functions. So thinking about not just having an impact on the company the way a people team leader would normally do, but being able to help them grow the bottom line and be a business driver was something that was really exciting to me. So here I am.
I think you're the third or fourth Twitter alumni that we've had on the show. And that just kind of goes to show like what a great place to be part of a people team and the experiences that you guys have had. And so tell us a little bit about DocuSign. So I'm familiar with it. I think most of our audience should be familiar with your core business. But for those that may not be, how do you describe to friends and family that if you're at a party and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" What's the pitch you give them on DocuSign's business?
Yeah, so it is great because when you say DocuSign, most people, they either say, I love DocuSign or I've used DocuSign. So you don't have to explain it a lot, but I always want people to understand more about what DocuSign is. And it's beyond an e-signature, right? And we're a company that is helping companies of all sizes, which a lot of SaaS companies can't really say that they work with a mom and pop shop all the way to big enterprises, global enterprises. No matter what size organization, no matter what industry, we're here to play. And we help companies not just with an e-signature capability, but around contract lifecycle management and agreements and a lot of different things that companies need to do across the board. And we have over 1 billion people using our product. We have millions of customers. So it's exciting to be able to really play in any industry, any size company globally.
Wow, 1 billion users. I knew that the number was big, but I didn't realize it was that big. And so tell us a little bit about the business itself. So you're a global company. How many employees do you have? How big is your people team?
Yeah, we're right around 7,000 employees. I have about 250 people on the people team. And so I would say we've been operating, I would say fairly leanly. We've scaled obviously from the early days pre-IPO to post-IPO and all of that, but we're still a pretty lean machine and very agile. And like I said, we're global and we're in all parts of the world and continuing to grow as this capability and what we provide is really reaching kind of the ends of the earth. So it's an exciting time right now to come out of the growth that was COVID, which, as you can imagine, companies were thinking, oh yeah, we can do that in-house, pass around documents and sign things. But when COVID happened, all of a sudden, a lot of companies and people were like, whoa, we've got to get this stuff done, but we don't know how to do that in this way. And so we really grew very, very quickly. And now it's thinking about what's that next pioneering front that we want to take the company forward to. And sustainability is also a core capability and value of ours. And we really do help the world become more sustainable as well, which is also awesome.
I had no idea. And one of the first headlines that I saw was about DocuSign was I guess a recent soccer signing, global signing, and it was the largest deal ever done. And it was like done at the last minute, and it was all executed via DocuSign. And I just thought that was I wasn't expecting to see that story, but I just thought that was the coolest story.
No,
So
for
you
sure.
guys,
Really coming in there at the last minute and learning how to DocuSign. There was a reality show that was talking about DocuSign that said, I got 3 words for you, DocuSign. so yeah, it's getting out there. It's great.
And so why should we be jealous that you get to work at DocuSign?
Well, if you're not already jealous, given what I've said, no. But I would say it's really honestly the people I work with are amazing. I get to work at a company that is making a difference in the world. I get to work with people that are creative and fun, and I really do feel like they're a family. We care about each other. We laugh together. We deal with hard things together. And at the end of the day, we know that we're there for each other. And it really does feel like it's a tech company, but it's got an old soul as a tech company. And it really does have that, it really has that feeling of connectedness, which is really special.
So speaking of being there for each other, we're in 2023, another
Mhm.
year where it seems like endless uncertainty, chaos, endless stream of layoffs, economic challenges, political and social issues. And I guess my question for you is, why do you think that companies are struggling to lean into what employees are looking for in terms of support?
I think one of the challenges, to be honest, is that there is such a breadth of need and desire among the employee bases. We've got multiple generations, people at different stages of their career, global organizations where people are experiencing different types of issues and trauma, depending on where they're located around the world, and trying to figure out how to address all of those things in a comprehensive way is challenging, because you roll out programs that you're going to think are going to hit the needs of everybody, but sometimes they don't. I think the personalization of my function is something that I know I talk to a lot of my colleagues about, because historically HR has rolled out kind of programs that are kind of one program to fit everybody. In a more homogenous type of environment where you have people of not as many generations and different career stages, that might work, but you have everything going on in an organization now, and trying to make sure you're meeting all those different needs in a very personalized way is, I can say, very challenging.
Yeah, I imagine, especially when you have 7,000 employees. So what are some examples of like what the personalization looks like at a DocuSign at scale? Because I
So
imagine it's difficult.
yeah, no. So, I mean, for example, some of our employees care a lot about their 401k and saving for the future. We have a lot of our employees who care more about paying off their student loans. So when you think about where they want to focus savings and how they think about that, it's just different. Healthcare benefits, very different for people who have children or people who don't have children, people who are caregivers, who are not caregivers, all of those things. It's a breadth of needs. And I would say over the course of the past, call it a few years, even it started, I think, before COVID, but COVID really brought it to light. Thinking about caring about every aspect of your employees' lives, not just when they're at work, right? There used to be a little bit more distinction of like before work or after work. And so employers felt, yes, I care for my employees and I'm responsible for them while they're here. But what is here anymore at the end of the day, right? People think about end to end caring for their employees' needs, whether it's off work, on work, and it's their whole lives that we are involved in caring for. And I don't think that's going to change, but it raises the bar and raises the level of accountability that people teams need to have in terms of thinking about the programs they offer.
I keep going back to this. I don't know if this is the perfect analogy, but Stephen and I, we do what we call riff sessions every once in a while, where it's just us two. And I've been explaining it this way to friends whenever this topic comes up. And it's about building the employee experience around everyone's unique lives.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, it extends beyond just the 9 to 5, and almost thinking about it like a Spotify playlist. Like everyone wants their work life to be curated to their own specific needs. And I don't know. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but it's
That's a
something
great,
that
no,
I've
it's a
been
great
saying recently.
analogy. It is a great analogy, because that is the expectation, right? These days, that the employer is going to meet the needs of the employee, and where they are. And we want them to bring their, we talk about bringing your whole self to work. We want people to feel completely included and to be able to operate in a very safe environment, psychological safety as well as physical safety. And in order to do that, you have to see everybody and you have to know who they are and you have to understand the needs that they have and at least attempt to try to address them or explain why you can't.
Yeah. So you mentioned creating a safe space. So I guess in your words, what do you think it means to create a safe space for employees?
These days, it means a lot. The psychological safety aspect that we've probably been talking about for a while is around feeling that you can be safe, sharing your views, speaking up, having a voice, and being who you are on a team, in a company, and not feeling like you're going to be shamed by it or called out by it, or you can't take a risk that's going to impact your career in some negative way. So there is that aspect of it. With COVID and with some other things that are going on in the world, physical safety is also a piece, right? Especially if you're bringing people into offices, they want to know that they're going to be in a safe environment not just psychological safety, but physical safety. And then now you've got the overlay of all the layoffs that are happening across the market and things like that in the world that are just so uncertain. They want to feel like their company is a safe company to work for. Like it's a good bet that they're spending their time in a company that's moving in the right direction. So this aspect of safety, I think, is broad.
On the topic of on the last point, I think I love the addition of the third bucket, which is, am I safe in my career here, given what's going on and all the layoffs we're seeing. And I think that some of some organizations are handling it better than others. I think it was Zoom that the CEO was like, this was our mistake. I'm taking a pay cut. Executives are taking a pay cut. And there are others that were, I don't even have to pick a specific example because I think there are enough poorly coordinated reductions in force that have happened at this point. And so what do you think is, why do you think so many companies are still losing the plot on that third bucket that you mentioned?
Yes, I mean, every company is unique, right? I mean, you have some founder CEOs like the Zoom CEO who really was at the helm and hand on the till, if you will, driving decisions that brought them to a place that he felt like he needed to say, like, hey, I've been here over the course of what brought us here, and I'm going to hold myself accountable to that. So that's one aspect of it. But every company is at a different place, and every leader is in a different situation. I don't think anyone thinks that there's the right way in the sense of layoffs and making decisions that impact employees' lives are never easy. And it's so challenging to think about how to do this in a way that's focused on the employee. And I think that's where companies probably are best directed to focus is don't focus on your narrative, don't focus on your blog, don't focus on what it's going to mean for you, because at the end of the day, what does it mean for the employees that are impacted, and focus on that and put your energy around that. And I think that's the place that people should be, because that at the end of the day, those are the people who are really impacted.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And there's things like survivor guilt that, like, the people that remain behind, like that, it doesn't end with the layoffs. Like there's continued change management and reorganization and taking on new responsibilities. And that I think too often gets lost in the conversations, or at least the external conversations.
Yeah, no, and that is also a difficult needle to thread, right? At the end of the day, because you don't want to be too positive and just act like that didn't happen, and at the same time, you want to try to make sure that the people that do remain can stay focused on the future and make sure that we're building the company, that everyone expects to be built, and that all the hard work of the people that did leave wasn't for naught. And so, but it is difficult to make that pivot when you're in a situation like that, for sure.
And so I'm curious if you can talk about it. Have y'all had to make adjustments or reset things at DocuSign? What is the last few months, the last few quarters look like at DocuSign?
Yes, I mean, the DocuSign is in a really, I think, a great inflection point. We grew really fast during COVID for the reasons I mentioned before. And I think we've got a real growth story ahead of us. And we have a lot of new leaders. We have a brand new CEO who's come on board, and a lot of the executive team is also new. So we're all kind of coming together to say, what is that next frontier for us? What is that next way that we position the company for growth and tackle a problem in the world that people don't know that is a problem yet, and be the first at it, so we can be there for the customers that we have and can attract the customers that aren't part of our organization yet.
There's been a lot of press on whether or not the most recent wave of layoffs is fully justified, or is this partly a scapegoat for companies reorganizing and cost cutting or whatever it may be. And I think my personal view is that a large part of this is like a labor market correction, or just like a hiring correction of sorts. And I'm just curious what thoughts you have on where we're at and when we're going to see some stabilization in the market.
Listen, if I knew the answer to that question, I'm sure I'd be being asked to be on a lot of different television shows and asked to speak to a lot of different things. I don't know, honestly. I think the best we can do is take it one day at a time, learn as much as we can from the past and try to navigate going forward. But I think a lot of this is uncharted territory, just like COVID was uncharted territory for us. And this is a new situation we're dealing with. And I think we have seen a lot of companies really grow so fast when they do that rocket ship thing, and then are in a situation to like, wow, how do we think about that now? And I think it's just it's a good lesson for all of us to think about, how do we grow responsibly, how do we scale responsibly, and how do we make sure that every single person in the organization has the right role and can have the right impact, and not always equate growth as a company to how many people you have at the company, which I think has been a little bit of a thing that people have gotten around as like, it's been a little bit of a marker of like, how well are you doing? How many employees do you have? And I don't know that that's always the right measure.
Yeah, I'm old enough to have seen a couple of recessions prior to this one, or prior, a couple of downturns. And there's always some, looking back, it was like, oh wow, that housing market frenzy, just seemed crazy that we were getting loans at that rate. And for me, it's like, oh wow, yeah, companies growing headcount 4x in a 12 to 18 month period, like that just, like, wow, yeah, we should have known something was up. Right?
Right.
So I
Yep,
agree with you that there are going to be some lessons learned, and we'll see where the future takes us.
for sure.
So there's this guy, switching gears a little bit. There's this guy that I follow on LinkedIn. And the other day he posted something that really resonated with me. And I know this is something that you've talked about on past podcasts. And the post goes: emails, Slack messages, text messages, Instagram, Twitter, meetings, Zoom meetings, back to emails, back to Slack messages. That's how most of the day is filled, but nothing is as satisfying as deep work. Writing something, recording something, creating something. Don't let catching up get in the way of making progress. What are your thoughts when you hear that?
100% plus 1,000. No, it is true. And it is easy sometimes to get caught into that trap of, hey, I'm just responding and I'm putting out fires, I'm attending a bunch of meetings, and letting yourself get lulled into the fallacy that that's progress. I'm still old school. I make lists every day of what I want to accomplish by the end of that day. And not ticky-tack kind of tactical things. Like I do track those things too, but it's more like, at the end of the day, what do I want to have moved the needle on? What do I want to have accomplished? And I check myself against that all day. And if I find myself coming down a rabbit hole of just responding to emails or just in a Slack chain, I will just step away and say, like, you know what, this is taking me off track, and I'm going to go do these things first, and then I can come back to those things and respond to those things when I can. But I just have to constantly check myself and reprioritize and say, like, listen, if I keep at this, I'm never going to get to these things. And it tries to help keep me on track and making me feel like I'm having the impact I want to have.
Yeah, I think in the episode that I listened to, the context, behind this quote I'm about to share was that when you were at Bolt, you were doing a 4-day work week experiment. And I think how you put it was do less and better. And how you were trying to instill across the company about being ruthless, about cutting anything out of your to-do list that you don't find impactful. So I'm just curious, is this something that you've carried over to DocuSign and are also maybe thinking about?
Yeah, so listen, we don't have a 4-day work week at DocuSign, but I do think there's ways to address that without having a 4-day work week. So for example, being ruthless still about what's on your calendar. And I have a couple check-ins a week with my assistant who manages my life, and we look through the calendar in that same way, and are pretty ruthless about it, and say, like, listen, this can be moved, or I don't need to attend this. I think as a company, that's certainly on the horizon as well, for us to really take a hard look at the meetings that people are having, making sure that they're the right things and people aren't caught up in just meeting for meeting's sake, and we have the right people at the table. Right now, things are moving really fast, and we've got a lot of people who are collaborating across our functions that maybe weren't collaborating before. So I'm a little loath to put a stop to that at the moment while people are making these connections and getting on the same page. I think the cleanup for us will be over the course of this next year of now that those connections are being made and we've got the better processes in place for collaboration and accountability for who owns what, we can then dial back on how often we're meeting together.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know where I heard this recently, but I think Shopify is running an experiment where they're not allowing any meetings with more than 2 people. And when I hear that, I'm like, oh, man, that'd be really hard to accomplish. Like, I sort of enjoy some of the team meetings, but it just goes back to your point that every company is unique, and what works at one company isn't going to work everywhere.
No, exactly. Yeah, I think sometimes, there's another way you can cut at it is to look at your calendar and say, oh, you're only going to have this number of hours of meetings per day. And it just really forces you to prioritize and say, well, I have to make the trade-off if I can't have this meeting today if I have that meeting. And then just really pushes pushes you to make that trade-off and prioritize in a different kind of way. So I think there's lots of ways to come at this.
Yeah, I agree. I want to talk about the work that your people team is doing.
Mhm.
So you've been there for 6 months now, or how long have you been there?
Since June
Oh,
of
okay.
last year.
Okay,
Yeah.
so a little more than 6 months.
Yeah.
When you think about, all the work that y'all have accomplished since June and everything that you have teed up for the year, is there anything that when you think about it, you're like, wow, I'm really proud of this work, and I'm excited to see where this goes?
Yeah, so I'm proud on many fronts. Since I've joined, we've had 3 different CEOs. So we had a CEO transition soon after I first joined. We had an interim CEO for a bit, and then we just had the new CEO join. So whenever there's that much change, there's obviously a lot to do to try to keep people calm and keep people focused as you're managing through that change. And I think the people team and the leaders that I have working for me have done a really incredible job of keeping things moving forward, providing the right support, but also continuing to advance our own agenda around modernizing our own people team function, the systems that we needed to upgrade and the processes we needed to refine so we could scale. It's just been a lot of work, and they've just been such a steady ship, and they have kind of stayed above the fray of being switched around by all the change. And I'm super proud of the fact that they've advanced a lot of work. We've taken on the work of the workplace experience organization. So that moved into my team to really drive the synergy between the workplace experience and the people experience. And the person who leads that is Aisha Berry, who's also our Chief Diversity Officer. But she's really on point for me to think about this holistic end-to-end experience that our people have, whether they're in our office or they're out of our office, and no matter where they are around the globe. Like, what is that experience going to be, and helping drive that culture is something that is a big area of focus for us. So we've taken on some big projects that are really, I think, will transform the way that DocuSign works in the midst of all this change. So it's a lot to be proud of.
Change is so hard in 07, 08, the way that, the people leader that I had at that time at Goldman, I'll never forget, we spent like a town hall talking about how during times of turbulence, how the people team should be the stewards of the organization and help alleviate the concerns and help bring some consistency and some stability to the company. And so I love to hear what you were just walking us through. And so your people team is 250. Is that what you said?
Right around, yep.
250 people,
Mhm.
professionals. And it's a global team.
Mhm.
So do you mind sharing with us, like, what is your team structure? And in particular, like, how do you keep tabs on it? It sounds like you guys have a lot of plates spinning. So how do you manage all of these amazing initiatives that your team has going on?
Yeah, so on my leadership team, we have the leaders for the recruiting function, so our talent acquisition function. I have the people analytics leader reporting directly into me. I think it's critical for the people analytics function to be at the table, driving decisions and helping everyone across the board, being very data driven and how we think about how we do our work. I have the person who leads, as I mentioned, our diversity, but also our people experience and our workplace experience on my leadership team, head of total rewards, someone who runs HR operations and strategy, and someone who runs what we call talent development, which is our learning development and more of our performance management programs. Also have our HR business partner function reporting into me as well. which we have our HR business partners embedded across the organization. Employee relations as well reports into me. And I think I've covered everybody.
Mobility, does that fall under total rewards?
It does.
Okay.
It falls under
Okay.
total rewards. Yep.
And so you have a leadership team. So that's like a dozen functions. I'm not good with mental math,
Yeah.
but that's a good number of functions. And
Mhm.
so what kind of cadences? Like, tell us about the rhythm that
Mhm.
you that you guys have to keep in sync and establish your goals and what that looks like.
Yeah, so we meet on a weekly basis. And so we have an hour-long meeting every Wednesday. I have syncs with each of my leaders on a bi-weekly basis and more often if they need it. And then I appoint members of my leadership team onto broader cross-functional work streams that we're working on across the company, and they report back into our leadership team. I also we have it's called PLT, which is People Leadership Team Updates doc. So we have a doc that we all add in every week what's going on in our world, in terms of what our focus is that week, what we're trying to accomplish, and anything we need to share. Because in an hour-long meeting, oftentimes you can't go around robin and cover those things. So we try to do presentations during those meetings where we have to do a deeper dive on something. But the main way we share information is through that doc, and we update it every Tuesday. So if there's anything we need to address live on our Wednesday meeting, we can do that. And so far, so good. It's working well. We have our leadership team Slack channel as well for any immediate updates, and just try to keep the cadence of the doc updates, the live conversations and deep dives, and then the one-on-ones that I have with the team, just to make sure that I've got my hand on the pulse and they can ask me to intervene or give them air cover for things that they're working on. But I really do empower them to just run with the functions that they have and bubble up to me where I can be helpful, where I can give air cover, what I need to raise to the executive team. I've also had, a few weeks ago, I had my head of diversity and also head of compensation and total rewards come and present to the executive leadership team. Before that, it was the person who runs talent development, and just raise key issues to the executive team, things we want them to be aware of and key asks that we have of them, how we want to get them involved, philosophical questions about how we do performance management and other things, or how we pay our people. We want them bought into and aligned around. And so I think it's across and up and down that we try to stay communicating and engaged.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I love to just peer into like what different companies are doing and how you keep the ship running smoothly. And so that's all very helpful. And going back to the initiatives you have going on, if there's like one or two or three, and I know it's so hard to pick, and I apologize in advance for even asking you this,
That's
but
good.
what are the projects that, are most exciting to you personally as you look to, the next few quarters?
Yeah, I mean, again, all of them are exciting to me. I think one that is really meaty that we're all engaged in is what we're calling the future of work. And listen, you hear this, a lot of companies are grappling with it. What does it look like as we, get past COVID in terms of how we work together? A lot of companies like us are exploring a hybrid work model. And what does that mean for our people? Because we hired so many people that aren't even near an office. So for them, they don't even have an option of working hybridly. But what does it mean for people who are near an office? How often do we want them to come in? And again, we want them to want to come in. So it doesn't feel like a mandate, but it feels like something that they get enriched by, and that helps us build culture and connectivity across. But looking at a global organization where people are spread and distributed in so many different ways, that is something that we have a broader leadership team working on. It's called the DocuSign Leadership Group, which is the top most senior 100 people at the company globally that have a leader. They're formed a leadership group, but there's a task force that's a subset of that is really thinking through a lot of these issues and bringing to bear a very global perspective across our orgs about what we should do at DocuSign. So we're being very thoughtful about it, but it is definitely something that we want to get right.
Yeah, I imagine. So you mentioned the DocuSign Leadership Group. I guess in addition to that, like what else are you doing to sort of bring your people along with you on this journey? Because whatever you land on is going to be what works for DocuSign. And I keep going back to this other podcast I listened to you on. And again, you were talking about 4-day work week, so not the perfect quote, but you were saying that a lot of people will reject an idea immediately if the exact replica of the idea doesn't work for their company. And what you said was, rather than just trying to copy exactly what somebody else is doing, you need to copy the spirit, or try to, find the spirit in what they're doing. So I'm just wondering, like, what is the spirit of what you're trying to achieve with your future of work strategy?
Yeah, it's a great point. So what I would say we're trying to achieve is, how do we have that blend of providing employees flexibility that we know that they cherish and have come to expect, frankly, after having worked in a pretty flexible way over the course of the last few years. But also, how do we make sure that we're able to build that connection and connectivity that we feel when we come together in person? And what is that right blend? And so, yeah, we definitely aren't looking at, oh, this company does that, so we're going to do this. It's top down and bottoms up. So I would say we've done surveys, and we've enlisted this leadership team that are representing orgs across the globe to really pulse their teams to understand, like, what's working well. Our workplace experience team has sent out surveys. Like, we're really trying to gather data and understand what works, what annoys people about coming to the office, what inspires them about coming into the office, what do they like the most about working from home, what doesn't work for them working from home. I'll even tell you, as an executive team, I'm based in DC. I travel to San Francisco occasionally to meet with everybody in person, which I love. But there's often times that I'm joining these executive teams via Zoom, and there's people in the room, and there's a few of us that are on Zoom. And what we've started doing is, at any of those meetings, if we're not all in the room together, everyone's just on a laptop. They pull their laptop up so everyone can see the faces. Everyone is experiencing the same thing, versus there's a few people on the screen that can't really see people in the room, and they don't know exactly who's talking, and they can see our expressions very largely, and we can't see if they have a furrowed brow or any of that stuff. So that's been great, and it's those low tech, easy things to do, that it just shows that you're cognizant of the experience the other person is having, and how can we all try to do the best for everybody at the same time. So yeah, it's about gathering input, figuring out what works best for us, and allowing that flexibility.
That reminds me of back when I was working with Steven at the company that he runs. This must have been like 4 years ago. This was before remote work was cool or anybody was trying it. And at the time, I was doing long distance with my then girlfriend, now wife. She was in Dallas, I was in Austin. So I approached Steven and I was like, hey, like, would you be okay if I work remotely every other week? So I could go back and forth between Austin and Dallas. And the only bad part of that experience was our Friday weekly meetings, because I was the only one joining remotely. And the setup was like this big, like, conference room, right? And they have speakers, town hall conference room, and there's like the speakers overhead. And then everyone had like this little block that was a microphone. And for whatever reason, every time we had this meeting and I would join remotely from Zoom, there was an echo. So I would just hear myself echo every time that I had anything to say. So eventually I was like, I just need to avoid having to talk so that I don't have to hear that echo. And man, if we all had the idea back then to just pull our computers out so that we could all have the same experience, I think it would have been a bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's easy stuff like that, right? That you just, that's easy to change. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of different ways to sort through this. And I do think, and Darren and I we talked earlier about Darren Murph, who is, I think, a real great thinker around these issues. And we've talked a lot about the fact that people have been so obsessed about where people work and haven't done the work about how people work in the same way. And I do think there's a lot of work there to be done, to really think about different ways that people work, different communication channels that work, different and again, one of the things that really did come through during COVID is a lot more innovation has been focused on working, that usually gets a little bit of the last bit of innovation, but there's been a lot of real great advances, I think, around people, the way people work together. So I think there's a lot more to explore there around creating better experiences for how people work, no matter where they are.
Yeah. And speaking of advancements, if we fast forward 5-10 years, like, how do you think this all plays out? Like, what are some areas where you think that we'll see some serious advancement?
Yeah, I do think, and maybe it might take longer than 5 or 10 years, but I do think some of the things that really do need to change are some of our laws and regulations that keep us confined within borders. Our ability to work more seamlessly across a country, for example, even in the United States, different payroll laws, different tax laws, different things like that make it trickier for people to work more flexibly and be in different places. But you're starting to see people's desires far outpacing the way people are allowed to work. And so I would love to see some real advancement, not just on the technology side, but like lawmakers and policymakers who are thinking about how do we make the world a more accessible place for people to be working in more flexible ways. Otherwise, we're just gonna, I think, have a bunch of people who are working in ways that are not supported by our laws and regulations, which is going to be an issue.
Well, shout out to Q Hamarani. I hope I'm saying his name right, but he's going to be a guest on the show here in a few weeks, and he's from Airbnb, and I think his title is VP of Work and Live Anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious how they're tackling some of these issues that you're talking about. So speaking of all the innovation, I feel like the hot topic on the show the last couple of months has been AI. Everyone is talking about ChatGPT. I swear I can't get on LinkedIn without seeing at least one LinkedIn post from a marketer or somebody in HR. That's what my feed is filled with, talking about ChatGPT. How can it help with recruiting? How it can help with internal like databases? Like it feels like there's a lot of use cases, and with ChatGPT hitting the market a few months ago, I think everybody is sort of just imagining all of the other applications. So I'm curious, what part of HR do you think has the biggest application and use cases for AI and machine learning?
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. We've been talking about AI for a long time, but I think it took something like ChatGPT for people to understand the real capability behind it and understand, just to get excited about it in a kind of a different way. And so I mentioned the head of people analytics reports into me, and he jumped on it immediately. He was talking about ChatGPT before I had ever heard about it. And he said, there's this new capability. And I was kind of like, eh. And I said, why don't you do, a lunch and learn? So he did a lunch and learn for the entire people team. And he and someone on his team like really educated us about what it was and showed us some examples. And my mind was blown. They did like a poem about DocuSign. Like they showed us real time that this poem was created about DocuSign, like in real time. Cool. And it's amazing. And so the way we started exploring, like, what could that look like for HR? I definitely think in recruiting with, outreach on job, like they showed a little bit of a example on that of like, hey, you want to reach out and send a note out on LinkedIn to recruit someone to be a software engineer, and just gave a few cues to ChatGPT on what that looked like. And it was amazing what they came back with. So our ability to kind of just focus our recruiting on the actual live interactions and assessing people versus spending a lot of time writing out emails to kind of send out and put out through LinkedIn. It's just, I think it can really help us focus our time on the things that matter, that you really need humans to lean into, and take away some of the work around job descriptions and things like that can be more readily sourced through an AI machine. But we're exploring lots of different things on the business side at DocuSign, as well as functions like HR.
Yeah, I think another application that I saw recently, it's like do you know what Gong is for recording sales calls?
No.
Okay, so there's this tool called Gong where account executives can record all of their sales meetings. It then auto transcribes it, and it then, once you have enough data, can start to find trends and like the words that are used whenever you're closing deals, the words that are used when you're losing deals, things like that. So recently I saw a tool out there that does the same thing, but for recruiting. So it auto transcribes all of the interviews that you're doing. That way you're not, sitting there furiously typing away, and instead you're being present in the conversation. And I don't know. I feel like if I were involved in a lot of interviews, I would definitely want a tool like that, just to give me some data points on how I'm doing, and being able to see how consistent I'm being across all of the different interviews that I'm doing.
Yeah, well, think about it. Like you can apply that to interviewing people too, right? And pulling out some of that same
Yeah.
learning from doing interviews with people. So yeah, I think there's lots of different applications for it. It's quite amazing.
Yeah. Our
The one
AI
thing that
is me just going through and editing it every week and being like, oh, I shouldn't have said that.
the thing that I am most interested in is, data. I feel, and I'm stealing a quote from a friend of mine, Todd Sargent at Disney, and he made the comment to me, still with all the data that we have, companies seem to be data rich and insights poor. So in HR, we've got a ton of data, but the ability to like mine that data and really get down to like what is the most important takeaway from these survey results or from whatever it is. And I feel like that a lot of progress has been made and there's some really cool things that can be done, but when you're really looking at your company specifically, I feel like there's still a lot of progress that can be made there in
Mhm.
the tech stacks. So
Oh,
that's
for sure.
So I wanted to quickly come back to what I totally lost earlier. So you mentioned something about, through the feedback that you've gotten on the future of work, things like what annoys and inspires people about coming into the office. If you're comfortable sharing, what are some of the, I guess, what does the qualitative feedback look like on questions like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably what you can expect. I mean, for some, it's the commute that they don't like having to spend that much of their day coming into an office, and they'd rather just have that time for themselves or to do something different than being in a car. For some, it's like I don't know when people are going to be here, so I've gone through the effort to come in. I'm excited about coming into the office, but people aren't around, and half my team is still working from home. So it's that knowing what to expect when to come to the office is something that I think by putting out some more structure can let people pick and choose things that give them a little bit more reliability on that experience that they'd have when they come in. But the positive side is people really love coming together in person, find a lot of real positivity around kind of like the more serendipitous interactions and just the hallway conversations, what we talked about, not just like the in meeting conversations, but what happens before the meeting and after the meeting, and the kind of conversations you could get into when you can be in the same room and get a better sense of energy around people. So I think there's definitely pros and cons that people get, and I think people are conflicted a bit about wanting to either be fully remote or working in a hybrid model. So it goes back to what I said earlier. It's so personal, and it comes down to the individual. It is really hard to paint an entire company with the same brush
Yeah.
in terms of creating a policy that's going to work for everybody. So that's something we're also thinking about in terms of optionality and what can work, but provide some sense of clarity about what people can expect when they come to the office.
I
And
always felt like you could get more value in the meeting after the meeting than the original meeting itself.
Totally. Yeah.
and then for those remote employees, I'm sure there's a question around like how can we make the experience better. So for the employees that have opted into being fully remote, is there anything that you're trying to sort of build culture in that remote environment? Again, going back to that other podcast I was listening to, you were talking about how when you were at Twitter and you were talking about going remote or having more remote employees, that people looked at you like you were crazy. They were like, you're like, Jennifer, this is not going to work. Like, what are you doing? Because they thought that the only way that you could build culture
Mhm.
was in person. And you were able to prove that that's not true, that if you don't have a good culture in a fully remote environment, it's probably because you never had like a strong identity or culture before. I think that's what you
That's
said.
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it was talking about the transition that people had when they went from being fully in an office to being fully remote, and they said, "Oh, what we don't know what our culture is now." And my response to that was, "You probably didn't know what your culture was before that if you didn't know what it was when it goes because at the end of the day, your organization is still your organization, your people is still your people." I think for us, we just launched a new set of company values that were also top down, bottom up sourced, and really trying to figure out like the DocuSign for the future. How do we all come together and align on the behaviors and mindsets that we think is going to take us there and that we can all hold each other accountable for? So I think as we lean into those, no matter where you're working, whether you're a fully remote employee or you're coming into an office, sometimes or all the time, you can expect to be treated the same way, and you can expect to have the same values show up in terms of those interactions and what we prioritize. And so I think those are the things that net you together as a culture. And then I think just being really cognizant of the experience that people are having, like the example we talked about laptops up, but also thinking about global organizations, time zones. As much as we've talked about that across the globe, companies still don't care about that. I think in the same way, some companies just don't give it as much time and attention. They kind of like, we'll continue to have these meetings at this time, and the people in these different time zones can just kind of deal with it. And if you really focus on the employee experience, like you focus on your customer experience, and you give it that same level of importance, I think you'll make different choices. And I think we just always have to be thinking about that and being very aware of where our people are, how they're working, and trying to make it a great experience for them.
Well, I think we are officially at that point. We're technically over that point, and we need to turn the corner and bring the conversation to a close, which is a bummer. It's been an amazing chat, and I feel like we could keep riffing on
I have
all
so many
these
more
topics.
questions about the new values that I wish we could dig into.
So the last couple of traditions we have, Jennifer, on the Modern People Leader are the next tradition we have is rapid fire questions. Same set of questions, all with a caveat. For today, we're testing out a new question with you.
Yeah.
But my first question is, how do you define a modern people leader? What are the traits and characteristics?
Yeah, I mean, we've touched on a few of them. I think part of it is being broader than just the typical HR leader, right? You've got to be thinking about things more broadly, like analytics, like the broader experience, especially the workplace experience, being a business strategist, not just and problem solver, not just someone who's making sure that people are compliant and programs are running. I just think the modern people leader is a much broader leader than HR leaders of the past, and have given more accountability, more responsibility, and are really strategy drivers for the company.
Love that. Next question. If you could go back in time and talk to a 22-year-old you, what career advice would you give yourself and why?
It's funny. I came out of college. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so I just dove at work that I felt like I could have an impact and that I could feel like I was making a difference. And that's how I've always chosen my roles. And what I would tell myself if I could go back is like, it's okay to do that. Because I felt probably into my mid-30s that I was floundering and I didn't have much of a direction. I just had jobs that I really loved. And when I look back on it, they actually did have a common thread, and they did lead me in a really good direction. But for the longest time, I didn't know that. And I felt like I didn't know where I was headed. And I just wish I could go back and enjoy it more, because I could calm myself down and say like, hey, just keep doing what you're doing. It'll all work out.
Oh my God, I relate to that on such a real level. It's the Steve Jobs quote, you never see how the dots connect until you're looking back.
Right.
And so my next question, which is our new question, what shout outs do you have for your team?
Oh, wow. So many shout outs. Aisha Berry, who I've mentioned already, is leading some tremendous work around our diversity strategy, as well as the future of work pieces and the broader people experience. So, I mean, amazing work there. Fiona Schinkfeld is our HR ops leader, who's helping devise our broader strategy and roadmap so we can be more transparent with the organization, and we can have, just like we have a product roadmap, we want to have our own HR product roadmap. Chris Clough, our head of total rewards, is really on the front lines of almost reimagining how we think about total rewards at the company, which is a big area of focus for us coming out of our survey and thinking about moving forward. I really and Kevin Moore, our head of people analytics, who's bringing new ideas and thoughts to us every day and to push us into new thinking. I literally could go across my entire leadership team and then their teams as well. So I know we don't have time for all that, but just huge shout out to the entire people team at DocuSign. You're amazing. Your resilience is incredible. And you've just been such a steady support for the organization during a time of great change.
Thanks for being a good sport. We didn't let you know that question was coming. We actually decided to do that because in our prep call recently that we had with Brandon Samet from Zapier, he was like, make sure to prompt me to give shout outs to my team. And I was like, oh, that's genius. I was like, we need to add that to our rapid fire questions.
That's
So
great.
that's why we added that one. All right. So last question for you. If you had to pick one person for us to interview in the Modern People Leader, who should that person be and why?
Well, you've already interviewed Darren Murph, so I won't say him because I know he's already been there. But I would say, I'll mention the name again, Aisha Berry on my team, because I do think she's got a unique role. This people experience role is a newer role, especially when she's looking across workplace experience, as well as all of the different parts and components of the people organization, as well as leading our diversity function. It's a broad remit. And I think she's got a really unique take on how she goes about it and how she's leading that team. So I think she'd be a very interesting person for you to talk to, and she's just also amazing. So, and she also did work. She also really was a leader in the work on our values refresh. So if you want to dive into that, she's also a good person to do that.
We're definitely reaching out, and Darren's been on the show twice.
Okay.
I feel like this warrants us reaching back out to him for a third time appearance.
Why not?
Maybe
Why not?
you could join him. And
yeah.
Since y'all are friends, I think that would be a really fun conversation.
Yeah, we've been on some things together before, and we always have a great time. So yeah, I'd welcome the chance to be on something with him again.
Okay, so last tradition. I know we're over time. So one word or phrase close. So we all respond with a word or phrase from the episode that we want to close with. Who wants to take it? Who wants to go first?
I'll say trust. It's one of our words. It's one of our values but I think it really embodies DocuSign, and it embodies what I want to leave all of our people with at the end of the day. It's a word that resonates with me and something I want to instill in my team and across DocuSign.
You want to go next, Stephen, or do you want me to take it?
You take it.
All right, I'll go. I'm going to say fulfilled. It's having conversations like these when I have to like sit back and just recognize the fact that I'm able to do this every day, and this is my job. So I'm feeling very fulfilled right now as we end this podcast.
God, those are two great words. It'll be tough to beat. So I'm gonna go for 3 words. DocuSign.
Love it.
Oh my God.
That's all I
could
think of.
That's great. That's great. Awesome. Listen, well, I really appreciate you having me on the show. It's been really wonderful to speak with both of you.
Thanks for joining us. It's been a lot of fun.
Take care.
Talk to you
Bye,
later.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.